But basically today we're talking about face. You know, what faces are seen as the beautiful faces, and just now that was a composite picture and of people from different races or from different areas in the world. And if you go to another extreme, we have even theories about proportions of faces. We're going to show you another picture. It seems everything can be measured, beauty can be measured. It's about the length between two pupils, and your forehead, length ratio and width ratio. Distance from pupil to pupil is 46% of overall width of face. From inside edge of ear to inside edge of ear. And the length ratio is distance from midpoint of eyes to midpoint of mouth. And that should be 36% overall length of face, from hairline to chin.
But how did they work this out?
I mean, scientists, they worked really hard to reach this.
They've been measuring a lot of women's faces, I think.
This is the funniest line I've heard in a while. Scientists, they've worked really hard to reach this.
Do we have a line that you want to measure that?
No, but, you know, I think we can laugh a little bit. I understand their work because, I mean, Da Vinci, you say Da Vinci in English too? Da Vinci, Leonardo da Vinci had, I mean, artists, anyway, you know, have painters, sculptors. They have, of course, they have their own standards of beauty in a way, but it's a little different because it's that would be in an artistic kind of way. But in terms of really human relations, the way you perceive the beauty of a human being, let's say we still talk about, you know, in terms of from an art perspective. You look at someone's face. You know, there's this beauty, Korean beauty called Jing Qishan in China. I don't know her name in English, but she used to be like the #1 Korean girl. But when I see her, I feel nothing. I don't feel anything. I see her talk. I think that she's better off not, you know, she's much more beautiful when she's not speaking and just staying still, you know? If this is the form of beauty we want, this is very, very strange.
I agree. I find this sort of search for perfection and symmetry very boring, and it leaves me cold. I like people to have character, I think. I think that's what makes someone beautiful.
And it has been said that if people were perfectly symmetrical, it would not be beautiful. It would not be perceived as beautiful, actually.
Well, actually, we are going to show you some pictures after a short break. And according to this theory, who are the beautiful faces? Who are the perfect faces? A short break. And welcome back to Crossover. Just now we've been talking about these proportions, or the perfect proportions of women's faces that we are looking for. Say, according to that theory, we have some perfect examples.
After makeup.
Well, anyway, I mean, it's about proportions, so makeup or not. So these three are supposed to be these beautiful faces.
Shania Twain, personally, I've never really felt anything for her, but Jessica Alba, Liz Hurley, of course, have always been, you know, I mean, many people like them, obviously.
And according to this theory, there is a very famous woman in the picture and the masterpiece. Well, she is considered to be the ugly one. According to that theory, she's not beautiful at all.
I always thought the appeal of the Mona Lisa is more about her enigma, her gaze, and the way that, you know, you can't stop looking at her, and, you know, she's kind of looking at everyone. I never thought it was about her proportions or her physical beauty. It's just kind of more her aura. And
if you put everything into these numbers and digits, and it's not beauty anymore.
No.
It's beauty is basically a personal thing. But, you know, scientists, they have their figures, they have their statistics. That is the research.
Well, I think those examples, Shania Twain, Jessica Alba, Liz Hurley, they all seem to be from kind of a male perspective. I mean, I know a lot of my friends have a very classical definition of beauty, like Audrey Hepburn, Grace Kelly. Maybe not people with a sex appeal as such, but a very kind of classic beauty, you know.
It's interesting you mentioned Grace Kelly because Chinese people don't talk about her at all. But she was so, I mean, for Europeans, and male and female, she was one of the most beautiful women. She was, well, she was in, I think she was in some of the Hitchcock movies. And
yeah, she was a classic Hitchcock blonde.
Exactly, and she was a big story back in the day. And Audrey Hepburn in China is huge, it's a huge name. And somehow, Grace Kelly has kind of forgotten here.
Maybe that's because Audrey Hepburn has like a cuteness about her, you know, she's sort of